You know that feeling when you just did something really big? When you just saved the day for your business, and by the day, we mean time and money. That's the feeling of getting Go-To Essentials, an all-new way to keep your employees and customers connected to your business. With only the essential business communication and IT support tools you need, and nothing else you don't. It's the feeling of slimming your tech stack while making it even stronger. That feeling when you made the right business choice, and now it's time to reap the business rewards, all at an affordably essential price. Go-To Essentials. Get started today.
Mark Ordover, welcome to an episode of Coffee in the Clouds. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing, Tom?
Doing good today. Good today. Mark, I ask everybody this question. Who are you and what do you do?
Great question. Okay, I am the Chief Operating Officer of a company called Evergreen Trading. Evergreen is based in New York City. We are a media trade company, and we're about 120 people strong right now. We've been in business for just about 13 years. And I think our greatest strength is the clients that we've been able to get opportunities to work with. And that ranges from AT&T and Adidas, Constellation, Smuckers. We just signed Levi's. So we're a mid-sized company based in New York. Like everybody, we have a ton of people spread out all over the place. And I'm their Chief Operating Officer, and I've been here since 2011.
Okay, so I learned about you through a mutual buddy, Ted Rubin. Okay, that's who turned us on to this, and I was like, "This is amazing. This is. I need to learn more." So, how do you explain? How do you explain to a layperson, what you guys do and what you don't do? Maybe, right? I mean, what's setting you apart? What makes you different?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So, if you think about ad agencies or big media buying services like Omnicom or Publicis or Horizon Media, they do the entire suite of things on behalf of their clients, from analytics and data mining through activation, optimization, and so on. We try and stay in that media activation lane. We do use data, we do activate on it, but we won't necessarily, for the majority of our clients, be called in to do strategy and so on. So one, that should set us a little bit apart from those bigger agencies that we are in a competitive universe with. The second thing is all of our relationships with media vendors are non-disclosed. So we have some unique ability to create arrangements with Spotify with that maybe Publicis doesn't. And it's not about volume. It's about acting a little bit as a private banker. And maybe I'll touch on that in a second. And we do this without a fee, because we make our money on the trade. But that's why people do business with us. And we've done business where we traded jet planes, we've traded real estate, inventories. I've been in this business for 30 years. I was an investment banker before that. We like knotty problems. We like the analysis of it, and we like using media as a currency. Does that make sense?
Well, it does. And it's making my brain short circuit a little bit,
Absolutely.
because I mean, if I was trying to explain this to a layperson, like it's like, wait, what, if I had $1 million worth of peanut butter in a warehouse, right? Like me, yep. I'm going to use it, right? It's like, okay, see all those jars? Yeah, that's $1 million worth. You're basically saying, we'll take it off your hands. Is that what you're saying? Right?
So far, yes.
So far, right?
Right?
Okay. And we're doing that because we have plans. we have plans for the peanut butter. Okay. I mean, walk me further through, because like you said, it could be jet planes, it could be peanut butter, it could be soccer balls, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And now I'm going to work backwards, right? Because where this doesn't work for us currently is if you're not a media spender and predominantly trying to advertise to U.S. consumers in some shape or form. So if you came and said, hey, I have $1 million of peanut butter in my warehouse, but I don't do any advertising, I'd say we're not a fit for each other, because our ability to pay you more for that peanut butter than you could just call a liquidator or a secondary or tertiary sort of retailer
Yeah.
is contingent upon our ability to trade for media, make a market in it, and we're really good at being able to fit ourselves in with your existing media buying machine. So that's the first big gate that you
Okay.
have to use to cut
Right.
this. Then
Okay.
I would say to the media, the peanut butter owner, if you will,
Mhm.
like what kind of media are you buying? And if the
Okay.
only thing they said is search, SEM, I'd say, nah, we do that for some clients, but I'm probably not going to be able to create enough of a spread to give you the benefit of paying a media bill with your peanut butter at
Yeah. Yeah.
cost or wholesale
Yeah.
and for me to make money. But outside of search, pretty much everything else may be part of a package that we discussed. Then we get to the third level, which is the homework.
Mhm.
So, how much do you buy of a certain media? What does it cost you? What's your
Yeah.
process? But so I like to work backwards.
Mhm.
Tom, most of my sales guys work the way I told you about
Yeah.
it, but it's more about if you're a fit. And when I see companies, they spend $60 million on media, I think, okay, this may work. And believe it or not, I have a lot of clients now, prospects that become clients. And I've heard about you guys. I'd like this. I have a $10 million chunk of media that I'd like to make it more effective. If I
Mm.
ran it through you, could you make it act like 10.5 million based on what my agent, and so we're getting a lot of what I'll call media extensions. It's tapping into our ability to work with media companies on a non-disclosed private bank basis and going from that critical point to, and I'll fill in the last piece. Let's just say we took that whole 60 million and you were the owner of the media
Yeah.
investment. And I said, Tom, we've done a 3 week pretty good analysis of your media. If I was to do it all next year, I can create a whole of $8 million for
Yeah.
you. What would you like to do with it?
Mm.
Do you have a warehouse that's giving you fits and starts? And do you have some other issue on your balance sheet that's creating problems? How, as long as you were going to pay that 60 million, I can go free up all this extra money to devote it somewhere else in the company.
Okay.
And that's where my banking head goes to when I'm trying to talk with C-suite about
Yeah.
these programs.
So you just mentioned the C-suite. Who is it in the C-suite? Is it the CMO? Is it the CFO? Is it the? I mean, who is it that you do the best with when they give you their attention and they give you their time to go? Okay. Who do we want to talk to here?
Absolutely. Great question. So the problem becomes one, identifying, is there a problem that somebody in that C-suite has, right?
Right.
So I could tell you more often because of that, I would generally go to the CFO as a first conversation. So if you were the CFO of a company and I had the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with you, I'd also do my best knowledge to, who you were in terms of your company and your industry,
Yeah.
and then start getting into a conversation about what may be vexing you here. I have this, I have that. What if I was to create a program that would ameliorate that? One of the
Yeah.
other issues I go to is if you're public and your CEO or yourself are outlining some goals you have, can this program help you get to those goals faster? So the CFO is probably the first place. CMO would become what I'll consider a user buyer.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean by that, right? So maybe the real estate people have a problem, maybe the inventory or procurement people are struggling with something, the CFO, but you're generally needing to go get into the media currency, which generally reports up to the CMO.
Yeah.
So they'll need to be brought into this process. And occasionally they're the people we sit down with first and say, hey, can we talk about something you're trying to accomplish here? Maybe you have tech fees that are overwhelming you. Maybe you have some things you want to do test and learn, but you don't have enough budget to do it. So I'm generally looking for some opportunity to use the tools that I have to talk to somebody there and find that sweet spot. It is probably the most difficult thing we do
Yeah.
because it does require the sale to cross over functional lines inside the company. A lot of times we're actually in situations where we're introducing people in the bigger companies. Like,
Yeah.
the real estate person at XYZ company is based in the Northwest, they have a real problem. And now they're sitting down with the marketing person in Newark, New Jersey. They've never met before. And they're coming together because I've created this wacky idea for them to consider.
Okay. So some of the filters, your ideal client persona, your ideal client, they advertise, right? I mean, they advertise, and
Yep.
and the more the better, right? I mean,
Yep.
am I right? Right? The more, okay. So that's one. Number two, they have to have something, some sort of a distressed inventory. They have something that they want to get rid of, or they something that's not being used. Is that a good way to say it, or no?
I think it's a fine way to say it. I think I would just nuance that and add to it, which is because I want to be able to look at this both as a problem and an opportunity. And that's pretty much because of my personality, to be
Yeah.
candid
Okay.
with you. So I'm basically sitting down with you as the CFO saying, hey, look, I know that, what are you doing with your real estate footprint now that we have this hybrid workplace? Are there any opportunities there for me to help you get out of some of that real estate quicker than you would like and reduce some of the carrying costs, whether they're insurance or warehousing charges, whatever else may be coming around? I can do this quicker than the average corporation could. Now, is there an opportunity maybe that you guys have talked about getting a certain return on your investment spend, or in a product line where I can create more jet fuel in your media spend? So I'm looking for that place to hang my hat and say, this is worth you guys putting a new tool in your toolbox. But
Got
you
it.
said it fine, Tom.
Okay. So it could be peanut butter in a warehouse.
Absolutely.
It could be a jet plane.
Could be.
It could be a building.
Absolutely. I like buildings. They
Okay.
don't move around a lot.
Okay. So we just went through this whole COVID thing, right?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of buildings in New York City that have less people in them, or businesses that moved out. So is that an example where a corporation that owns a building, it's like, wow, we don't really have we got a lot of people working from home now,
Yep.
maybe we don't need this building anymore, right? This office, okay. Is that an example? Is that a good example, or not
I
so much?
think it's directionally close. I'll tell you why I'm using the words directionally close, because knowing the real estate landscape in New York, more often the investors and developers are not spenders in advertising,
Yeah.
but your corporation is a lessor. And so they may now have 18 years left on 100,000 square feet of space where they're going, we're going to need 25. Okay. With just, and I got to get rid of 75,000 square feet in a sublease market that's bad because I'm competing with so many other people. So, well, what are you paying per square foot? I'm paying $75. What's the sublease market now? $50. Okay. I can ameliorate that discount for you. I'll pay you 75 for this. You're taking $10 million a year in cash, but you're going to run 50 million in media. Let's do that for 5 years or whatever it is. And I can find a way to make it a push, if you will, on your expense line.
Is there something that comes to mind that you did over the last many years that would be classified as, well, that's entertaining? Well, that's a cute story. That's an interesting client transaction there. I mean, you don't have to name the client, but I'm thinking I'm going from peanut butter to jet planes to, I don't know, all these different assets. What would be one you would tell at a cocktail party?
Yeah, this is great. Clearly, the jet plane one was great. It's the thing that I fell in love about the business, because it required us to get outside consultants and legal people to understand what we were buying and why, and honestly pay what was close to $30 million for 3 jet aircraft that were probably worth 18. And it's a pretty transparent market. So learning about that and figuring it out really tickles me, to be honest with you. The media side of it, pretty much the same. But one of the things that's popped up, it's probably not a shocker to you, is there's been a lot of hand sanitizer. And we have had a couple of programs with people where XYZ company has so much hand sanitizer that when you first hear it, it's almost like a little bit of therapy. They're not telling you everything. Over the first couple of weeks, it just seems to get bigger and bigger. And then you're just sort of like, what were you expecting here with this? Like we're going to douse yourself in it. And then you start to realize that hand sanitizer, if it's usable, it's more than 65% alcohol. And if it's more than 65% alcohol, it actually qualifies as hazmat material in the US.
Oh, wow.
Right. And honestly, that was a little bit like the first couple of days, we didn't put all it together, Tom. And then we were like, oh boy. And of course, our general counsel was like, oh boy, time out. I want to understand this a little bit better. And then we
Yeah.
started saying, okay, we have certain rules now that we have to stay in, which
Wow.
actually made it easier for us to have a conversation with the company because we were like, you can't just put this on a truck and send it anywhere, guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
One, it's also very heavy, so it does
Yeah.
cost a lot of money to move it around. Two, you can't dump it in the ground. So what are we going to do with it? So you have all these things because we've done this with alcoholic beverages before that can denude, which seems crazy because everybody just made this stuff to slather up and clean themselves. Now you have to reverse the process,
Yeah.
right? So that you can destroy it. So, the pandemic certainly created some learnings, both, in probably a lot of ways, I should say. So that was a curiosity for us. I would say that.
The thing that you guys do, I mean, is there like a label for it? I mean, if I was at Harvard School of Business right now, are there case studies? I mean, is this an industry that I just am not up to speed on, or are you kind of like an outlier? Are you like really unique?
Um, I would actually say that we're an industry. 30 years ago, when I started in this at another company, it was a much smaller industry. And the media holding companies I named earlier, whether it was Publicis or Omnicom or Havas, those guys would all say to their clients, this is like the dark arts. Don't
Yeah.
do this. Don't do it at home. It doesn't work. Well, every one of those companies now is in the business. All right.
Mm,
Big time.
mm, mm.
So it's created a lot more volume. From my perspective, it's created a lot more well-heeled competitors
Okay.
in one way. Like what's that? The old adage that the rising tides rise
Yeah,
all
yeah.
boats. So
Right.
there's a lot more volume in the space. The media vendors are more accustomed to it if they haven't been. Where I think we can still shine is a lot of the examples that we're talking about are examples that traditionally the in-house trade companies for the holding companies do not want to get a hold of. So if I would play back to you, hey, we've just found $25 million of hand sanitizer. It's taking up an entire warehouse in Peoria, Illinois.
Right.
You're the general counsel of Publicis, and you're going, we're not taking this. We're not touching it. We're not dealing with it. We're
Yeah.
much more risk taking because
Okay.
a lot of us at the senior suites have come out of good business schools. We've had different backgrounds. We're good with the risk and the analysis. It doesn't make us foolhardy, but we do want to get into it because that's what the clients are hoping for, right? They're saying, I need you to solve the problem. I don't want to pay warehouse costs. I don't want to pay insurance costs. I need it to go away. And I
Yeah.
recognize I'm in the chain of title, so it's a hazmat issue. What are you guys doing with it? So the answer to your question is it has become an industry. Most of the major media companies are involved in it. It's still a small industry by the U.S. economy size for
Yeah.
sure, but it's certainly more robust than when I started in it. So I'd like to say it's an industry, but maybe a smaller one. And I would
Okay.
excuse you for not knowing about it if you hadn't come across
I'm a quick study, but
it.
I'm the child in the room right now. As I'm going like, okay, like I'm not really the entity that has the hand sanitizer, right?
Yep.
Do they say, hey, get Evergreen Trading on the phone? I mean, like, do they know to call you, or
Oh
or
boy.
or
Yeah.
are they like, surprised that a guy like you exists?
It sort of depends on the company. If we do well with our customers, right, they're no longer surprised, and they're also feeding the machine. They're going, you
Okay.
know what, guys, we do have a distribution facility, and so. It was built 35 years ago. It doesn't have RFID technology. The ceilings aren't big enough. All the issues, and we're not going to retrofit it, so we need to get rid of it. And we're upside down in terms of our book and cost and market values. So we'd like to do that, and that comes. If I would tell you from my perch as the COO, does it happen often enough? No, it doesn't. We need to be out there at industry conventions, procurement conventions, finance conventions, marketing conventions, making sure that we are telling people our cocktail stories,
Great.
things that we've done, using our clients in a way where
Yeah.
we can reference them and getting them on the phone. And what I'll call beating the bushes. So there's no doubt that there's a robust sales effort that goes into identifying an opportunity and trying to sort of socialize it within the
Yeah.
company if you can.
Yeah. I love business stories where, stuff's kind of like hiding in plain sight,
Yeah.
where it's like, wow, somebody had a good idea there. And then whether it's, Uber or Airbnb or, I mean, the old Duraflame log story where, they were paying people to get rid of the sawdust. And it's like, I'll take the sawdust, and it's like, and now they're making Duraflame logs, right? So I'm feeling, I might be completely wrong, but that's how I kind of feel about what you guys do, that it was always there hiding in plain sight, and it just took some entrepreneurial minds to like actually turn it into a business. Am I even close?
I think you're close. I think if you're using media as the currency, and in my old life, we tried things like energy and other things, and I think
Yeah.
it's doable, but I think the infrastructure required to create those trades requires
Yeah.
a bigger commitment than we're ready. We started this company and just said, hey, look, if we can become the best at what we do in US based media trade,
Right.
we would have a good company. Right.
Right.
And I think we've shown ourselves that we're competitive in the space, 12, 13 years into it, and we do well. And then you see the media space going through such dramatic change, both
Yeah.
in terms of overall dollars in the space and then the technology around it. More often than not, it does cause concern to the existing structures in our business at first. And then the minute we start swimming in that water, we're finding, hey, you know what? There's opportunity here to create relationships with vendors, whether they're new streaming companies,
Yeah.
whether it's the national linear companies that are feeling under pressure, if you will, to create some form of private banking relationship that allows us access to media at highly efficient rates. And that provides our fuel to the fire. So, okay, we have these relationships, we have access to media at better rates than the vast majority of buyers. We have a machine that can do the analysis and activation around it. Now you have to get curious. And what I'm saying to you is exactly like I was saying to you, come work for us. I want you to be on the business development side and run a vertical for us. Now the question for you to decide is, are you comfortable in that intellectual development of how, once you have a currency that you may believe in, how can you deploy it? Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to get our business development people to go after, because the truth is, working with prospects and clients, we come up with some novel ways to make this work. We're with a company right now where we're buying 56 pieces of capital equipment. We couldn't get the deal done for a couple of years because we needed finance, procurement, marketing, the C-suite, and this particular company, everybody's sort of equal. I can't really explain all that, but they sort of are. And we needed to create structures where everybody benefits from this. The one thing that we're all recognizing is that the 56 pieces of capital equipment were the tip of the iceberg, and they needed to try it. And we finally got this in a way where we're like, guys, you're spending that 60 to 80 million a year in media in a place where at least half of it is tradable. Yeah. What can I escrow the money? How do I protect you and get you over the and I think honestly, just telling them that I'm willing to do this for no risk to them, as long as they try hard. You have to try. You have to try and spend the money. You have to try and do it. They did it, and I think they're feeling glad right now that they did try it.
So my first business was in 1983. Okay. And I'm trying to remember what I did back. And it was like, okay, you had print media, you had, there was TV, there was radio, there were billboards, there was no AOL, there was no internet. Right. Okay. So when you said media back then, it was okay. First of all, a lot of money. Right. I mean, yeah. Right. Today, now we've got AOL, we got Facebook, and we got, Click, and we got all the social media stuff, etc. You do not dabble in that, or you just don't specialize in that?
Oh, I absolutely do more than dabble in it. And I would tell you this, I came out of college in 1983, and I went, and I remember these times. So right in that 80s, one of the things that did happen was the explosion of cable,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Cable networks. They like,
Yeah.
it started coming out of nowhere, and that ended up being a big part of the gasoline for trade companies. Active and Icon are big ones in the space. I had spent some
Yeah.
time at Active, and you started creating these deals because the cable companies and their parent ownerships were like, oh boy, we need some help
Yeah.
here. So how about some investments, this and that? So we're seeing the exact same thing right now in the streaming wars. The amount of
Yeah.
content that's out there, the way that it can be delivered, whether it's being delivered on a terrestrial basis or we'll call it a linear basis,
Yeah.
or it's being stuffed into programmatic machines, direct to IO, comes through a Roku device, an Apple device, this device. So, I think these are huge opportunities. What I find really interesting, because I was never the media guy, even though I have a media business that reports up to
Yeah.
me now, is I'm in a lot of corporations where truly they're bewildered by this ecosystem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I get it. And so if I was going to take you back to the CMO relationships I have, is that no, I'm not that creative person around pricing and positioning and other things, but the ecosystem in which your media investment dollars are going to go into, the analytics you want out of it, the data you want out of it, you have to be curious about that right now in part of that CMO job. And I think that's a little bit of a blind spot right now, or they're relying on the media director there because
Yeah.
this is confusing. It makes me feel good a little bit because Barter has always been a confusing place, but I found something to surpass me, which is
Yeah.
the digital ecosystem in the United States.
I just had a flashback. My my first sale that I ever made when I sold car phones. I was the third person in the United States to sell cellular phones
I love it.
when 9X Mobile went live. Okay. And my first non-friend and family sale was because of a cable ad that I ran. Okay. I had no money, and yet I think my ego made me buy the ad. I was a big shot now, And the first sale that I ever made was because of a cable ad, and it turned out to be his name was Cal Darden, and he ran UPS for the Northeast. And I got the UPS account
Oh my,
because I ran, and I'm remembering like, wow, man, like you got to be in it to win it,
absolutely.
But I didn't have, I think I had $1,000 in the bank at the time. Really, it was like, what am I doing?
I
What am I
remember
doing?
those phones too, and I thought with the same
Yeah,
aspirations, I would see a senior person with this in the car, and I was like, "This is the coolest thing
yeah,
I've ever
yeah.
seen."
Mark, what did I not ask? What would the right question have been? Here's your chance to ask and answer your own question to put a pin in today's video podcast.
Oh, that's great, and I appreciate it. I think part of the question is where's the industry going?
Yeah.
We've talked about the fact that this is an industry where all the big holding companies have gotten into. And at first they were reticent about it. Now they're all playing in it. And so I guess the question that I put out there, or at least the statement, is that I think because of what I just said around the digitization of the American economy and how that flows directly into the digitization of the way people consume media. I
Hmm.
think there's a huge opportunity here to let your intelligence and curiosity find ways to articulate what's actually happening there and then use efficiency models to create value for corporations.
Got it.
And I think that's a high minded goal, right? My mom would love that. And it's a high minded goal because you need to interact with these corporations and say, look, this is a confusing ecosystem and it's changing rapidly, but you don't need to be afraid of it. And by the way, the unique situation we have as a non disclosed trader, banker with some of these media companies, with a vast portion of them, allows us to create things on your behalf
Mm.
that you can't necessarily get from the larger holding companies. And here's the way we're going to partner with you. If we do this and this, okay, and by the way, when I use non-disclosure, I'll disclose virtually everything to my clients so they can audit it and so on. But here's the way to use a tool that you need in your competitive backpack. So, I don't know,
Yeah.
it sounds pretty average for me to say I'm big bullish on the industry. but I'm bullish on the intellectual pursuit of how the world's changing in front of us and how this tool can be used in a more powerful way with our clients.
Yeah, yeah. I again, I love it when I come across a business or an industry where it's like, I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, I've been around for a while. It's like, how do I not know this? How am I not aware that this exists? So that's what really piques my interest. But in speaking to you, it's like, well, now I want to know more. It's like, well, now I want to even know more. Because I see the nuances. It's almost like college, pro, Hall of Fame. I mean, it's like another level. It's like another level in business, and I'm a fan. I like business. I like talking about business. I like being in business. I like the science of business. I like strategy.
Yeah,
so
me too.
yeah,
Me too. And it's one of the reasons that honestly, I was in the advertising business in 83 up until the mid 80s. I went to business school because I felt like I was getting pigeonholed. I started working in alcoholic beverages, and I went to go work. I remember this. There was an opportunity to be the account supervisor on the Pepsi account. So I showed up. It's like 1986, and I go to the interview, and the woman says, like, what do you know about soda? And I thought that was a trick question, honestly. Because I was like, what do you mean? What do I know about soda? It's like I drink it every day, unfortunately. And I didn't get the job, I'm sorry to say. But I went back into business school because I wanted to be in a business. And that's why I went to investment banking, where I could learn about other businesses and what their balance sheets were and what their pain points were and how to finance them. This business gives me a lot of that. And Tom, I don't necessarily have to work every Saturday and Sunday. So it helped.
It's
So
very, very
thank
cool.
you for getting the opportunity to talk to you today.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job. But I'm having flashbacks too. I'm remembering my first couple of years of selling, car phones, and like, what did they do for a living that they needed to make a phone call from the car for 50 cents a minute? I mean, that alone, it's like, I just want to know you anyway. Like, just what do you do? What do you do that you're justifying a phone in your car for 50 cents a minute? Okay. So again, a lot of memories coming back right now. But Mark, this was another session of Coffee in the Clouds. Take care.
Hi, Tom. Thank you.
This video was brought to you by Shop now at www.tac-usa.com.